Welcome back. This next point is you learn everything twice. That's just a sentence is very misleading and it needs a lot of explanation. So the point is, this twice is the first thing you learn something is when you hear about it, somebody else talks about it, you're introduced to the concept. And the second time, the time you really understand it, that's when you really know it. That's the second time. And the thing is, you need to put in, the second time is when you get this aha moment. And the thing is, you need to put in a lot of work without any payoff, any aha moment before you get to this second part. So the way you illustrate it is you have this dotted line of just experience where you don't get anything and suddenly you get an aha moment and everything in your brain connects, and that's when it's oh shit, I understand this. And then usually you connect some sort of sentence to this realization, like I have done with these words, and you can remember that skill. But that's actually a culmination of all the hard work you put into here. And then when you read a blog post or something on YouTube, it's 5 ways to get better at photography, you know? Then it's they're just saying whatever words they said when they realized it themselves without this work here. And the reason you don't get 5 aha moments where everything in your brain connects when you watch that video, that's because you haven't put in the work. And that's also the important thing to realize about every learning on university, no matter if it's physics, math, or everything else. You have to put in the boring work without any payoff, and then you will get the payoff. This is imagine a highway, right? Before you can open the highway, you have to blow away the mountain, you have to move the stones to make a smooth surface and level it, you have to put concrete, you have to put railings, overpasses, everything. And then, after you're done 99% of the hard work, you have to cut the red ribbon. And people think that you can just tell them the red ribbon and suddenly they will understand it. No, you have to pay with blood to get anything in this world. You can't learn it. The details are not transmissible. And that's very important to realize with these 4 truths that I'm talking to you about. This is the first time, or maybe if you're very reflected, not the first time, but that you hear these things. And you actually have to do hard work and try to realize that this applies to your own life before you get the aha moment that will make you realize that you can learn anything, you can master anything, you can be the god of your universe. It's like the other device I used to represent this is the castle with the road. So it's if you have a castle and then you have these travelers walking past. When you're watching a YouTube video about somebody talking about something, that's just travelers walking past you. You have to invite the information that you hear in, you have to process it, you have to connect it to your worldview. And there's a YouTube clip by Richard Feynman where he talks about this. When he was a child, he read the encyclopedia with his dad, and whenever they talked about the size of a dinosaur or anything, he tried to imagine, and the dad helped him okay, that means it's as tall as the 2nd floor, always connecting the information to the real world. And that's the hardest thing when I'm teaching chemistry to get the students to understand is the fact that if this is just conceptual information in your head, you will never remember it, you will never understand it. You have to connect, when you learn about the phenomena, you have to connect it to your real life experience, and then you will remember it for free, forever. The other clip that I like to show is the one, of course, with Morpheus.
I'm trying to free your mind, Neo, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
And the fact is that it's very true. Nothing you hear will give you anything. You have to take it in and make it a part of you if you want to really learn it. And when I read something right now, I couldn't even explain how I do it, but at the same time, every new information is like archived in my brain. And at some point, I didn't do that. I just read things and it didn't matter. But when you practice learning and you do this, suddenly you will do it without thinking. It's like when you're driving the car, right? You do it without even thinking. You have these two parts. You have the grind and then you have the aha moment. But the aha moment is paid for with grinding. And without the first part, you can't have the second part. And it's like if you can read infinite, recipes on how to make something. But you have to actually, if you want to learn it efficiently, you have to do the hard thing. Go to the kitchen and bake that stuff, man. And then when you read again, you will realize what they meant by the different small details in the recipe that you didn't catch. And understanding, that's over here. And that's what you really want, because you can't memorize everything, but if you can connect it to your real life understanding, you will carry it for free forever. And that's also why I think it's important to follow your own interests. Because if you read, for instance, if I learn about optics through the hobby of photography, it has a real world application, and it's instantly much more connected to my worldview. While if I learn it about like reading a boring physics book, I won't remember anything because it doesn't matter. So if you're doing something you're interested in, you will have much more connection to the real world and you will remember it much better. And then the last part here, the last truth, is that mastery is fun. And the way I like to illustrate this is with a graph, of course, because I am an engineer. So you have time down here and you have mastery. And you can imagine that if you're learning something, your mastery would go up with time, right? But the thing is, there's like a line here. A line that divides what is fun from what is boring. And the thing is that when you're doing something and you suck at it, it sucks, man. Like, it's boring to be bad at something, especially if you realize it when you're like confronting your own weakness in some way. When I can't do something, it's like I realize at that moment that I'm not good enough, I have to be better. I have to think more if I want to do this. And that's hard. But then at a sudden point, you get to a point where it's like, I can do this. This is actually fun. Just like remember back to school, like all the subjects that were fun, you were also good at. And all your worst subjects you always hated, or the things you were bad at you always didn't like. And that is like a universal law. So imagine somebody is like, I want to do this new thing. I want to learn to play the guitar, for instance. You can imagine they start out here, and then they improve, and then suddenly it's like, it's not happening, the grind without any payoff. And it's like dabbles off. And they give up before it starts becoming fun. So I call this the dashed line of broken dreams. And you have to realize here, that's what I talk about, the certainty of a payout. It's like, if you know that you're gonna end up here eventually, it's much easier to stick through the hard work. And everything that I've become good at one point, I didn't like doing it, but then suddenly it became fun. And like, I never thought, for instance, this would happen with statistics, because it's like, it's a dull subject, right? But then suddenly, when I got good enough at it, it was like, I see the beauty now. So realize that, and this applies to every experience, if it's like an artistic endeavor, if it's about like talking in front of people, if it's driving a car, if it's doing carpentry, taking photographs, you know, painting, anything will be fun when you get good at it. But almost everything is boring when you suck at it. And yeah, there's a couple more points. For instance, this everything is experience. My main point with this is that, like, when I was a child, and probably you as well, you got people said things to you, what I call are false truths, like, you're good at math, you're not musical, you're not funny, you're smart, you know? People put these labels on you, and that's all bullshit. If you want to, you can be good at math, you can be athletic, you can be artistic, and you can be funny at the same time. You can be everything if you just realize that if you do the hard thing, you can learn things efficiently, and know that you can actually learn everything by doing them. So if you just start doing the things you want to be a master at, suddenly you will be there, and people will look back walking up through the ramps. They will wonder how you got there, and you will realize that it's because you threw away all those labels that were put on you, and you realize that you can just master anything you want by putting in the work. Especially things that are artistic, like drawing and musicality. It's like, if you aren't good at it at 8 years old, then you suck at it forever. It's like, no, I can't draw, I can't sing, you know? And that's bullshit, because everything that really matters in my life, I've learned after I was like 22. I was just living on like autopilot and didn't realize that, shit, I can just like get good at singing by doing it, or get good at playing the guitar by doing it. And there are things I thought I would never be able to do that I could do now. For instance, like listening to a song and figuring out the chords on the guitar. It's like, I thought that, okay, I can learn to play with tabs and chords, but that I will never be able to do. But then, after trying it and just trying to figure it out, suddenly I learned it. And it's the same. There's probably something that you want to do, but you say to yourself, I can't do it. And that's bullshit. Just try and know that it's possible. Because then you will have the motivation to get into the zone where it's fun. And when practicing something becomes fun, that's when you become a master. Because many people have to like force themselves to do hard things. But if it's fun for you, then you will do it automatically without putting in work. And it's like people, they build a prison around themselves with false beliefs about what they can and can't do. And why do they do that? Well, it's because if I, for instance, tell myself I'm not musical, well, then you don't have any responsibility for why you didn't sing or why you didn't write that song, you know? While if you actually could do it, then it's your own fault, right? You have a choice to master the thing you wanted to master, but you didn't do it. And that's painful, man. If you realize that I had the choice and I fucked it up, that's worse than living with the lie that I'm not musical. And that's why I think these like inherited truths from our parents are so like negative, because they're just like a collection of your parents' disappointments and unwillingness to face that they actually could have done differently. So then they tell you from an early age, you can't draw, or you're good at math, you should stick to that. Because that's better than telling people that they can, that they can do anything. Because if that was true, then I could have done anything, the parent, right? And they didn't, which means they failed their own potential dreams. So don't build this prison for yourself. And when somebody tells you that you can't do anything, you tell them, fuck off. And sometimes also age has something to do with it. Like if you tried something once when you were 14 and you didn't like it, and now you're 23, Try it again, because a lot of things change when your brain matures and you get older, and there's certain skills that is much easier to learn as an adult compared to when you're a teenager or a child, when people are forcing things onto you, telling you what to do. You have to learn this, you have to do this. But you know, food changes when you get older, experiences, movies. You could try things again. That's my 4 truths about learning. And remember that hearing all these things, it hasn't done you anything at all. You have to actually think about these things next time you're learning something. Am I avoiding doing the hard thing? Am I telling myself a false truth, like I can't do this because it's artistic and I'm not artistic, even though you could be? And realize that, maybe I'm very close to the aha moment. I just have to stick through the grind a little longer. Before you do that and realize that these things actually are true, then you will get nowhere. And this would just be travelers walking by your castle, giving you nothing. Yeah. Good luck.